Okay, I'm here with Les Fossel, who is running for District 47 State House in Maine. Les, what made you decide to run for office?
Well, I've been in office before. I served in the legislature for two terms, 10 years, and I serve I run 15 employees, about $2 million a year, restoring old houses, and I serve on 8 boards. And what all that has in common is not that I'm rich, I can feed money into these things. It's that I solve problems and make things work. And if you look at what's happening on almost every political level, is particularly interested in solving problems and making things work. And yet, that's what you're hired to do. They're more like a bus with two drivers. One trying to jerk the wheel so they go into the ditch on the left, and the other one jerks the wheel to go in the ditch on the right. And that is wildly irresponsible. What we need is responsible and responsible, and we don't have it.
Well, that's a great segue to our next question, which is why did you decide to run as an independent? You've been an independent in the legislature before, so I'd love
No, no, I was a Republican.
you're a Republican.
Not only was I a Republican, but my brother's godparents are Press and Dorothy Bush. Uh,
What caused you to make the transition then?
um, well, you guys ever gone hiking?
All the time.
Okay, if it's a group hike, there's two important people. There's the leader, and there's the most important person is the person in the back who makes sure nobody gets lost and everybody sort of heads in the right direction. And that's what I tried to do for the Republican Party for decades, is we need two viable political parties. We have one party and we have a Kool-Aid party. And I finally gave up, and Trump was the last straw. Um, and I just couldn't be in the same party with him. I'd been in the Republican Party and in a county leader of the county party and leader of the state party, you name it. Um, and so I was a lifetime member of the Lincoln County Republican Committee. Well, I couldn't support Trump. And so the only answer was to get out. The other thing that happens is people, if you're not paying attention, you assume because I'm a Republican, I'm a right to lifer. In fact, every single piece of literature I've sent out notes that I'm pro-choice. There's a reason that Planned Parenthood endorsed me. And I believe if you're going to solve problems, you are going to run toward trouble. You're going to talk to the people you disagree with. You're not going to surround yourself with a bunch of sycophants. And that's what's happening in politics today. I saw no way anymore as a Republican that I could cross that barrier. Uh, as an independent, with lots of friends in both parties, maybe that's possible. It's a reach. But like I said, solve problems by running towards them, not away from them. They go faster than the speed of light. Sorry.
So independents have all different shapes and sizes. So, like
Yep.
you can be anything across the spectrum as an independent.
Yep.
So we'd love for you to share with us what your vision for a brighter future for Lincoln County would be.
Well, it's first of all, you represent your constituents, so you pay close attention to what they want. That's why you're there. You're literally a servant. Um, you also pay attention to what you think will work and what you believe in. And if you get 2 out of 3, you're in good shape. You seldom get 3 out of 3. The Again, the problem is the two extremes somehow feel that if the other extreme would only disappear, they'd solve all the problems. But that's not how things work. Any given issue, whether it's scientific, political, old house, my hospital, there's always those people on different sides, and all of them have something to contribute. And our job is to find common ground. And I'll give you a good example. It was now, 10 years ago, how I did it. The current, Shauna Bellows is the current Secretary of State for the state of Maine. She used the Maine Civil Liberties Union. And my friend Roger Cates, who was a Republican, I think he still is actually, senator, we were talking about having going to computer generated medical records, electronic medicine. So the Maine Civil Liberties Union believed you should only have electronic medical records if you ask for them, opted in. The hospitals, and I've been a member of a hospital board for a decade more, believe everybody should be in unless they opted out. And so insoluble. But my buddy Roger and I, them all in the same room, and said to them, I want you to describe your position, but you cannot use the terms opt in or opt out. And you know what? Their positions were the same. If we can figure out a way to do that, to get to beyond the language and to the behind the language, it's amazing how often we can find common ground. And in the case of electronic medical records, we've probably saved hundreds of lives doing it. That's our job, not throwing mud balls at each other.
Excellent. And then in your race specifically, like what makes you the best candidate to deliver on that future of compromise? And
because I see the need to do it, because I've had experience doing it for many decades and successful in many different forums. So we have low income dental because Lincoln County Dental figured out how to do it, and I showed them how financially make the numbers work. The same with our hospital, Lincoln Health, like Miles Hospital was named 6 years ago the best hospital in America by Consumer Reports. You know what the response on the Performance Improvement Committee was, where I sit? We only got an 87. We can do better than that. And it's not competing against each other. It's competing to make this better. And the problems with the extremes is they define the world as competing against, beating the other extreme. It doesn't work. All it does is delays progress and gets people mad at each other. And you may have noticed, there is no connection between your emotional mind and your rational mind. Once people start getting emotional, you might as well not talk to them. Our job is to figure out, excuse me a second, I don't have anybody in the office. Les Fossel. Hey, I'm going to give you a call back. I'm on a Zoom call right now. Okay, take care. Bye. Where were we? Sorry about that. I run a business. I've got two people in the office.
No, we're getting you in real time. This is excellent. I appreciate it. No,
yeah. So anyway,
we were talking about the extremes and how emotions are affecting our ability to have a conversation.
So one of the first things I do, and I've done it to you guys, is I've made you laugh. The moment you do, they're opened up to learning, and that's I've been teaching for 30 years now, and that's what I do, and it works. And I did it in the legislature once. There was a bill before the legislature to license contractors, and I'm a contractor, and what it really was a bill to charge a fee to contractors if they wanted to stay in business. And there was a couple of problems with that. First of all, there's a whole lot of people in the trades who are very bright, but not necessarily literate. So they can do their job very well, but they're not going to pass a test. And so I got up in the legislature and I said, I think this licensing thing is a really good idea. Having qualified and licensed contractors. But first, don't you think we should have qualified and licensed legislators? But broke up. That was the end of that.
I love that. Excellent. And then our final question for you is, you've spoken about the polarization in our politics and how we've never been more polar. What would you tell a voter that feels reluctant to try another option and vote for an independent candidate?
Well, it's there's Churchill um, had a line about Americans, and he said, you know, they always do the right thing after they've tried everything else. Well, I think we've tried everything else and it hasn't worked. So what do you have to lose? And particularly, what do you have to lose for somebody like me who's demonstrated he knows how to make things work? So, yeah. And if you don't like to make things work, vote for somebody else. You know, I've got a big life out there. I don't. I have an obligation to make this system work. I work with buildings because buildings are the visual reflection of a community. Well, politics is the social reflection of your community. And the society is not working well right now. And we have an obligation to try to make it work better. You know, it's embarrassing otherwise.
Well, thank you, Les. Before we let you go, any final thoughts for our audience? And
You want to make the numbers work, and you want to be sure it feels right. And the question is, does the direction we're going in feel right? Or do the numbers work? And I think the answer to both is no, it doesn't feel right. The numbers don't work. You can figure out a reason to be angry. But where does that anger get you? But it's more anger. Extremism begets more extremes. How about trying something else for a change that has a chance of working?
thank you so much.
So you guys like this. I can tell by your faces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know how you read people? You're too young for this, but you know how you read people, and actually getting there. You know how you read back. You look and see if they have more wrinkles around their eyes than their mouth. Wrinkles here are laugh wrinkles. Wrinkles here are anger wrinkles. You don't want to deal with angry people because they just don't. They can't listen. They're in too much pain. They're too damaged. You know. Welcome to the real world.